Welcome to r/MaliciousCompliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. Defiant Employee maliciously complies with their boss's absurd request to clean a new meat slicer in a way that causes it to rust and malfunction. The second story. Despised coworker's refusal to cooperate leads to a major shipment mishap, resulting in the loss of a valuable client. The third story. Stressed pizza delivery driver encounters an entitled customer who demands free food. Instead, the driver cancels the order, leaving the customer empty-handed and blacklisted. Today's first story is: you get angry and belittle me when I want to follow the instruction manual on your new piece of kit? Enjoy your brand new rusty wheel slicer. It's been years, but I'm still worried that this person is going to hunt me down in my sleep, hence the throwaway. I used to work at a deli shop/cafe place, just to make ends meet while I went to uni, and the owner of that place was a real piece of work. If you got on her bad side, you were on the SH list, and she would be both openly and passively aggressive with the general vibe that you were an incompetent idiot no matter what you did. I heard that woman scream at a 15-year-old on her second day, because she had mixed up coffee in teacups, which differed in size by about an ounce, just to give you an idea of her personality. After this whole experience, my dad told me that as a general hint, it may be good to be suspicious if a workplace hires exclusively teen girls with no experience, because they're very unlikely to recognize SH workplace treatment. There were 2 people in this place who didn't take her SH. Me, a mid-20s recovering addict who's seen way worse, and a 45-year-old Iranian man who told her she could go F herself, when she berated him for not being willing to come in early to his 11-hour shift to prep ingredients. Off the clock, of course. I like that dude. With the stage set, on to the malicious compliance. When I started, this place desperately needed a new wheel meat slicer. The one they had made a constant screeching noise and drove everyone crazy. About a month and a half into my employment, they got one. Industrial grade, cost $5,000, both looked and worked accordingly. Amazing piece of kit. As we were all celebrating and unpacking it, I flipped through the instruction booklet to look up how it works, and specifically how to clean it, as there were quite a few parts. Manual says to clean everything detachable thoroughly, but that the wheel itself should be cleaned by letting it run on very low speed, with safety precautions, and using a cloth and alcohol-based cleaning agent on the exposed part. There were some pictures and detailed instructions on how to do this, and it explicitly stated not to take the whole wheel off and deep clean it, as this would remove the wheel lubricant and anti-corrosive agent, and risk damage to the machine, and to especially not let water or any cleaning agents get into the machine without making sure to thoroughly replace any lubricant. I was working the evening shift, so 99% of the time it was up to me to clean it. The instructions is how I clean the machine, because I trust the designer to know how to clean it. Or I do for about 2 days until my boss sees me, asks what the F I'm doing and why I'm not taking the wheel off to clean it. She berates me about food safety and hygiene standards, telling me how disgusting I am for doing it this way. I stand my ground and inform her I do it this way because of the instructions, that I'm following the manual, and explain the reason behind it. If we scrub it down, especially the inner part, the grease will go away a lot faster, and will risk damage to the machine. She basically tells me to shove it and to do it her way. Now, I'm not going to ruin a $5,000 thing because one woman doesn't understand how lubrication works. But the very next day, my manager sees me clean the machine and gives me an extremely condescending talk down on how this isn't how we approach hygiene, and how boss told me you don't seem to understand food safety. My explanation falls on deaf ears again, and I'm also informed not only am I expected to take the wheel off and scrub it at the end of the day, but after every use. Boss also wants me to make sure I spray off the inside section to ensure there's no bacteria in there, with some hints that there had apparently been a whole colony of life growing in there, due to my 2-day negligence. She wants me to spray soap and water mixture into the cogs of a machine they just bought. The blade is stainless steel, but the effing cogs aren't. Effing fine. If that's what you want me to do, that's what I'll do. Every day, 5 times a day, I take that effing machine apart and scrub it down. Every day I see that lubrication disappear more and more, and after a week it's all gone, eventually becoming replaced by growing patches of rust. I feel bad for the machine, but I do as I've been told. I only work 6 days a week, so every day I come in after my break thinking that surely yesterday my manager would have reacted. Nope, she takes it apart just like I do, clean it like I do, and doesn't seem to think twice about the fact that this brand new machine is rusting apart in front of our eyes. In fact, she goes the extra mile, and also scrubs the cog itself, which is probably why a year or so worth of lubricant disappeared in 1 week. The thing about rusty machinery is that it usually works up until a certain point, but once it reaches that point, there's no going back. One day I turn it on and it makes a screeching noise I can only imagine came from the soul of this bit of kit, wondering why God has forsaken it, and it's like the clocks all stop. My coworker in the pastry section comes over to ask what the F that noise is. My boss and manager come into the room with the same question, and I just shrug and slice my salami. Boss tells her co-owner to go get some lubrication for the gears, and after a minute he puts some effing spray-on oil lube in front of me and tells me to lube the gears up. I ask him where the lithium lubricant paste is, since according to the instructions that's what you need, and he seems flabbergasted that putting something made for hinges and ball bearings isn't appropriate for a meat slicer. 2 days and some tinnitus later, he's acquired some grease, and then proceeds to be stumped when I let him know I'm not going to stop doing my regular job to spend 30 minutes greasing up this machine, unless someone else takes over my station or they pay me overtime. My boss is meanwhile demanding to know why I haven't told them we need to stock up on lithium grease, which I don't even bother to respond to. I make sandwiches. I'm not your mechanic. I left that job a few weeks later, and when I did, the machine was still crying in the song of its ancestors every time we turned it on. And we were still scrubbing it down from the inside out daily, of course. I have since then gotten a sneaking suspicion I know what happened to its predecessor, and me and my dad, who's actually a mechanic, still laugh about it sometimes. My boss did ask rhetorically at one point how the hell the machine got to that stage so fast. I answered that it's probably because we've been scrubbing the lubrication and corrosion protection off several times a day, and I take great pleasure in the memory that she completely ignored me. It's the only time while I was there that she didn't snap back at me, and I like to think she remembered back to when I explicitly told her that if we clean this thing in that way, this is exactly what would happen. Overall, I don't think a 5K machine would make or break anything, but F me did that feel good. Edit. A person like that will never take responsibility or place it where it's due, but that's life. Unfortunately, boss was a co-owner and free to run things however she wanted. Let's just say I wasn't surprised when the place was put up for sale, because how anyone managed to stand that woman was beyond me. It's been 3 years and it hasn't been sold yet. I take some pleasure in that because she truly did act like being there was the worst thing in the universe every single day, and now she can't get rid of the place. The next story is The Tale of SH Coworker. I worked in the office at a manufacturing plant. I handled shipping and receiving. The office pet, who I refer to as SH Coworker, handled truckloads. Another coworker handled big jobs that required a third party. The owner was a D and constantly thwarted any attempts to address problems. He took great joy in being sadistic and making everyone's life hell. SH Coworker joined in this effort. He fought against any meetings or team effort at work, so everyone ended up managing their own orders, which meant a lot of fighting when you had a rush job. There was zero cooperation. We couldn't even do reasonable things like color-coding paperwork, so the floor knew it was a rush job. Another employee and myself had tried to institute a system that when an order was completed, the plant supervisor brought the paperwork to the office to be finalized so we knew it was done. That way, we didn't have to check on orders constantly to ship them or walk them on the floor. Nope. When completed, the order was left in the warehouse with the paperwork on top. The day before Christmas Eve rolls around. Everyone is sort of screwing off. Boss left early for the holiday and had a new customer with a big truckload shipment. It's SH Coworker's order. Friendly coworker and I see the order get completed, paperwork laying on top. Then the foreman, who hated SH Coworker too, moved the order behind a bunch of smaller orders. We watched him do this while smiling. It got buried in the warehouse as the plant tried to finish up everything before the long holiday. Friendly coworker and I exchanged glances, shrugged our shoulders and walked away. This was something like a 10K order, and it was boss's new big client. Not my problem. SH Coworker realized it at 4:45, but didn't have enough lead time to get the truck there. So there the order sat while SH Coworker panicked. He couldn't say SH either because he just argued that everyone needed to be responsible for handling their own orders, and he didn't want our interference. I think I even said I don't want to interfere. Now, I could have suggested we ship in individual boxes and eat a lot of profit but keep the customer, but it wasn't my problem. The boss returned and was peeved. He questioned whether we saw the order, which we explained we didn't even know it was due to be trucked out, because we never saw the paperwork. How would we even know what orders are moving through the plant? I only know about my orders. Cue 10-minute scream fest about how he's sick and tired of people saying they don't know what's going on. We lost the client. SH Coworker lost his job. Owner refused to institute a policy that paperwork gets returned to the office. Edit. Hattie allowed us to change a policy which made everyone responsible for finalizing orders. Instead, he insisted we not interfere with his very special handling. So I didn't, even though I could have saved the day. Didn't want to interfere. The last story is, try to guilt trip me into giving you free food? You get nothing instead. Okay, so to preface, I used to work as a pizza delivery driver several years ago, and my boss was pretty cool. We still hang out sometimes even to this day, but things can get stressful when busy, as it was a small shop, with only me and him working weekends, with me delivering and him cooking, and Saturdays were by far our busiest shifts. So I was working a Saturday, in the middle of another hectic shift. I had to drop off deliveries for 3 different houses. This is nothing new, as I'd often have to make multiple deliveries on the same trip, but one of the houses, the last one, had already called up several times to ask where their order was, as it was already late. For whatever reason, my boss never told them the truth, and would always palm them off by saying it was nearly ready when in truth he hadn't started it yet. So I was expecting them to be a little peeved off when I arrived. Unfortunately, on my way to the last house, I get a phone call from my boss saying I'd made an error with the first 2 deliveries by accidentally giving them each other's food, and to go pick them up and swap them immediately. I asked him if I should drop off the last order first, but he said no, so this meant house number 3 would be waiting even longer for their food. I finally arrived at house number 3, admittedly a good hour or so after they should have had their food originally, so I was fully expecting a tongue lashing off the occupants. However, what happened surprised me. I'm paraphrasing the conversation, as this was a few years ago, but I remember most of it pretty well, and it went roughly like this. Me, knocks on the door. Karen, you're late. Me, I can only apologize. K, that's not good enough, you were meant to be here an hour ago. Me, again I'm sorry, but I can't control when the orders are made. I just deliver them when I'm told to. Now normally this is where the customer would have felt they've aired their grievance, pay for the food, and go back in. Not Karen. K, I don't care. You've ruined our anniversary night. What are you gonna do to make it better? Me, well again I can only apologize, but I'm here now. K, I've got children through there who are having to have sandwiches now because you're so late. So what are you gonna do to make it right? I finally catch on to what she's insinuating, that I should hand over the food for free and take the financial hit myself. Me, well all I can do is say sorry for it being late, but that will be total please. K, well we've already phoned up and canceled the order, so how are you gonna make things right? As soon as she said that, a light bulb went off in my head. Me, well unfortunately if you've canceled the order, then I'm afraid I can't hand over the food, and I should return it to the shop straight away. Have a good night. With that and without another word, I turned away, climbed back into my car with all the food, and took it back to the shop. I told my boss what had happened, and he blacklisted them from ordering again. He was also able to sell the pizzas off half price to some regulars who came in drunk looking for something quick. I had a handful of incidents working there, but that one will always stick in my mind. I heard from my boss that they tried ordering again a few years later after I stopped working there, and he informed them they were blacklisted to their total surprise. Edit. The food had been freshly made, and it was piping hot. It hadn't been sat in my car for hours. It's just with the sheer volume of orders. We had been a bit backlogged as the pizza oven could only fit 7-8 pizzas in at a time. I hope you love these stories. Subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching and have a good day.